Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mary Languish. Today I'm going to be talking about mistakes I've made as an art teacher. So I have 20 plus years of teaching art experience. My very first art class I taught when I was a teenager. And I still actually to this day teach the same content that I taught in that class, but I've learned so much from just years of experience of teaching classes after classes with all different ages, all different types of places, all the things. So hopefully you can learn these things sooner than I did. But let's dive into some of those things now. Very first category is not planning well. And this will cover a few different things, but not planning well in general. So things I did wrong was not planning supplies well. Either bringing too much, not bringing enough, not planning far enough in advance, not knowing who is responsible for what supplies, right? So I've learned that I need to plan what I need for supplies at least a week. I mean, if you're planning a whole year of classes, you might be way ahead on this, which I've also done, where you're planning for every supply, for every project at the beginning of the year, right? But at the very least, sometimes you take things as they come, your projects are going to change. And so you are going to plan things maybe a week ahead or at least a few days ahead, right? So that you know what you need as a teacher to demo or to create the project, and you know what your students are going to need. Also, I went many years without doing this, but you want to, especially if you're being able to teach in your own environment, not necessarily in a school setting, but make a list of student-only supplies, as in supplies that you have your students purchase for themselves. Oftentimes, this is a very basic list. We're talking like paper, sketchbook, drawing pencils, erasers, color pencils, scissors, it kind of depends on the class you're teaching, but a list of basic supplies that they always bring with them every week so that you don't have to bring all that stuff in addition to special things like pastels or paint or clay or whatever. And again, you might not be bringing supplies, you might be storing supplies and using it in a classroom setting. But nonetheless, it's kind of nice to know what's for students, what's for me, what are they bringing, what am I bringing? Just there's this clarity, and you know that week to week in advance so that you're not realizing when you get to a project, you're like the night before realizing, oh no, I needed Sharpies for this. I don't have Sharpies. And then you have to change the whole project because you can't do it without Sharpies. So keep that in mind. Second one is not planning projects well. Now, I think we all as art teachers have probably planned and come up with just bad projects. It just happens. It's part of the learning process. It's part of the journey of being an art teacher. Is you're going to try a project and be like, yeah, that did not land. That did not go so well. So we're going to get that out of there. That happens all the time. That's part of it. That's okay. So just you can let that come and go as it needs to, but just having an understanding of the steps needed to make the project for you, so that you have an understanding of what's the best way to go about this project, the steps to make it come to life, right? Maybe you need to make a sample. Maybe you need to be prepared to do a demo in person in your class. Maybe you need to just be clear about final results or expectation of what the project should look like, right? And oftentimes that wasn't clear to my students way back. Or you don't have extra supplies or extra projects planned, and so then you're scrambling to find something for your student to do that's done with his project because you didn't have anything planned. Or you have to go scramble to find extra projects because you are going through your projects that you planned for your syllabus just way too quickly, right? So I recommend planning just lots of extra projects for your class so that if you are going too quickly through your plan, that you have more to fill in, or ones that you sub out, like, oh, this one's going to be too easy, this one's going to be too hard, this one's not interesting enough, this one doesn't quite follow what we're going towards, this one isn't going to be good for my students. You can have things to put in without you having to go back to the research side of things and getting new content. So being overly prepared and having those little projects, little assignments for those students that are just done, that they can go try this little thing to use to do for the rest of the class time. And then make a clear list for the projects of the steps and the supplies needed for you, for the student. Like all that's just going to come in handy and make your day of teaching so much smoother. And you don't have enough stuff so that you can demo the project, because your students are going to learn best from watching you. And then the last one from this section is not planning or communicating well with students out of the classroom, or parents, or even the school that you're teaching at, or the higher authorities of the place you teach at. I would often I'd be kind of ghosting everybody because I was focusing on the actual class time. And I would feel so alone and not really in this together and out of the loop, right? And your students will feel that way a little bit, and your parents of students will feel that way. So learning to communicate better, right? So reaching out for help is huge, and that can be, it can be anything, right? But being open and early with your communication so that you can actually get the help you need. And email regularly to keep that communication open with students, with parents, with the school. So that could be as simple as like at the beginning of a week, just emailing everybody, making sure they know what the expectations are for your class that week, what they need to bring, get them excited, right? And then maybe on the other end, at the end of the week, you do a similar thing. Hey, you're going to need this and this and this next week. And also look at the cool stuff we made this week, right? And get them kind of excited about that. So just open, better communication with everyone involved with your student. And then also communicating with students, expectations, grades, homework, anything that they're going to need to know. Is just good to be on top of that stuff, because you can't really blame anybody else but yourself if no one brings what they need if you never told them to bring that thing. So just being open with people involved with your class so that you can not feel alone. The second category I have is not setting a class tone from the beginning. So, for example, I had many nightmare classes, where things are getting so out of hand. You've got talking kids that are too loud, too disruptive. You're not able to gain back control of the classroom setting, and you haven't kept your parents in the loop or the school in the loop, and you feel like it's too late now to involve everybody. Bad situation. Or you feel like projects just aren't landing, like your students are just not understanding the art they're creating is just not what you're thinking the projects are going to be, and you just feel very much alone and out of control. So the things I was doing wrong is, first one is, a lot of the places I used to teach at and still do, I get to pick how many students I have in my class. So I have a minimum, maximum, and we cut it off at that amount. So my one problem was allowing way too many students into my class at one time, thinking I could handle it. The more the merrier. This is great. And realizing, man, I can't really help each student. And if it gets out of control, it's way out of control. So realizing what my minimum and maximum for a classroom setting is and sticking within that. The second thing is I would teach students as if they're all the same. Right? No matter their skill level or personality, just teach them the project as if we're all at the same level, all understanding in the same way. That's not the best way to teach, right? Everyone is different. And so I actually, down in the description below, I have a link to a free download of Quick Guide to Engaging Every Art Student. Basically giving you practical ways to direct your students based on their age, their skill level, and their personality, because all of those things are going to affect how your class runs and how you're going to teach your projects, right? So take a look at that down in the description below. Free download for you. It all comes down to like observing your class first, obviously understanding what students you do have in your class and getting to know them, right? And then second, having some systems in place to help each of those students thrive. That's really the whole point of this, right? So keeping their age, their skill level, their personality all in mind as you're teaching each project and setting up your class. Then it leads me to not having class rules or class procedures. I went way too long without this, and I needed it so badly, so badly. And some teachers, especially if you're used to public school or private school setting, you've sort of trained in this, like how do you create rules, and you might have a little jingle depending on for your little kids to like memorize how we interact in a classroom setting. So at the very minimum, you should make a list of rules. Go over them regularly. Go over them the first class. Make them serious. Make them like, this is a big deal. We need to follow these rules. And again, go over them regularly so your students understand. Stick to them. It becomes a foundation you can kind of go back to. You don't always have to be the bad guy. It's your rules that are the bad guy. You can be like, hey, you know, we're talking too much. One of our rules is we need to only talk at this section of time so that we can work the rest and not disrupt each other, right? Always using that as a backup is huge. It's so helpful, especially with younger kids. Make sure students know how to clean up and when to clean up, and that they actually do need to clean up. That often is one of my rules anyway, is we have a cleanup time. When I say it's time to clean up, we need to clean up. And what does that look like though? Is everyone crowding to the sink at the same time to wash their brushes? Do you have a system set up? Like, you kind of need that. I've realized that over the years. It's like, you can't just be like, okay, everybody go. It's just chaos, right? You know, you're not just teaching art. I had a parent once who told me, why aren't you having your students like help you clean up at the end of class? And I was like, I don't know. I kind of thought me doing it myself would be quicker, more efficient. I would do it right. I wouldn't mess up the brushes. You know, I just was thinking it's just better if I do it. But if you have too many classes, too many students, you know, you need to involve them on multiple levels for the sake of your sanity, but also for the sake of you're teaching your students not just art, but you're teaching them how to get along as a class, how to clean up after themselves. Like, that's a huge skill anybody should learn how to do. And so really prioritizing that for your students and for your class is huge. Set a time for students to engage and talk. So you're always going to have talkers in the class, and talking's not bad. But you want to channel it, direct it to a certain time of the class, and obviously being aware of what's being talked about. So having a question of the day or having a discussion time at the beginning of class, but then later setting a timer saying, hey, we're going to, you know, be working for this time. I'm going to play some music. I want you guys to focus and try not to be interacting and talking unless it's necessary discussion or, you know, help me with this kind of stuff. So that's a great thing to put in place because it just happens. And sometimes you want to welcome it and sometimes you don't. So just having a clear expectation for your students and for yourself of what that looks like. And then the last one was not demoing a project. So not telling the steps and then just, or just telling the steps and expecting them to just understand what you're seeing and what they're supposed to create, you know, that just doesn't work. Like, art is a visual subject, and so they need to see it. So at the very least, writing down the steps they need to take on a board, showing them the steps just with sketches on a board, all very helpful. You know, if you have time to make a sample, I often don't have time to make a full samples. Occasionally I do, but at the very least to demo it in person, they learn even so much more from that because they can see the process. They can see how you handle the materials to make it come to life. And then again, you can reuse the sample or the demo and use it for another class. And so you're really kind of helping yourself in the long run with that. All this to say, don't be like me. Plan well in advance for your supplies, your projects, and how you're going to communicate with your parents and your students in your school. You know, set a tone for your class, create those list of rules and procedures and how you're going to interact with your students so that you can enjoy teaching and have fun and that your students are going to love your class. So again, check out the free download below, Quick Guide to Engaging Every Art Student. And let me know what you think. Give this video a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. But thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.